Well, I think I've been asked that question before, and first the Minister of Sports addressed it, and last week we spoke about it, that we will have a proper national celebration and community celebration for Julian Alfred. I think the Minister put it well last week when he spoke and said, not every time she meets a medal, we're going to have a national celebration and a public holiday. We are building up to Olympics early August, when the 100 meters and 200 meters will be run. And we all, supporting her and encouraging her so she can win gold or at least medal at the Olympics. And I think once that ends, we will announce the full suite of events and celebration that will take place. Of course, Castle South Cicero will also celebrate her, and we will have our own community celebration to honor her. So we're certainly looking forward to it, and we really at this point just need to give Julian all the support, all the encouragement, and let her know that the country is behind her fully, and we're looking forward for her to create history for us to have our first Olympic medal.
As Minister for Creative Industries, there have been some concerns about patenting in St. Lucia, or some ways to protect, the work of artisans in particular. Some guests might come into St. Lucia, see what St. Lucians are doing, take it over and make a killing out of it. So what can be done to protect?
There are laws to do that. I mean, somebody was asking me about that, and I said, there are laws, there are intellectual property rights laws in St. Lucia, and the laws provide for you, and you can go to the registry, the commercial registry, and you can get a patent for any creative expression or anything of that sort, and those things exist. Somebody then said to me, well, creatives don't know that and artisans don't know that. Well, I mean, I really, that's the importance of you joining ECHO and the importance of you joining the professional bodies, because, and you as a artist, as an entrepreneur, the importance of reading and researching and educating yourselves, because there are laws were passed a few years ago that provide protection. And the point is, we even have a registry in St. Lucia where those things are registered, and it is universally recognized and accepted. So there are provisions for those things, and maybe what it says is that we probably have to do more and more public education to inform persons. But for you to be saying to somebody, sorry, if you write a song now, you should, take A, B, C, or D action. I would have probably thought we're beyond that, but if we have to do it, then we have to do it, and we'll probably have some discussions. I know ECHO is going to have its AGM very soon, and it is something that they might wish to take up in terms of the registration of intellectual property.
In terms of the creatives, there was a program one time with the CDF where they had established some programs, some courses for young persons. We haven't heard much about it over the year or so. Mm-hmm. Can you update us as to what is there?
No, I'll have to find out about it. I'm not sure exactly which courses. That's certainly probably before my time, but I can find out from CDF. And I also suggest to CDF to put a focus on that area, even if it's just public announcements, to let people know that there are protections available.
There was some 18 to 45-year-olds, there was some courses, and there were some people they brought down, but then it was just figured out, it never got feedback on this for some bad times.
Sometimes I'm blown away by those things. To me, if I'm entering into an activity, I do my research, I do my reading. I can't imagine some people still say his government did not tell them. I mean, if you're going to get involved in some business activity or some enterprise, I mean, as an individual, can you just do some research, some reading about it, find out what's involved in it? I just think there's some level of personal responsibility. I mean, the excuse cannot always be government not telling people those things, the ministry is not telling people those things. Then what are you doing as a person entering into the activity? at least educate yourself to some extent. And nowadays, it's not 15 years ago, Google knows everything, the good and the bad, the right and the wrong, and you can go and do research. Gone the days when you had to take a thesaurus, a Webster dictionary, and those things to try and get information, encyclopedia and those things. Now you get everything online.
Why I'm saying that is because for a show, I think, had already established, but the guys had already got some recording. I mean, one of it was even on airplay, and then you had the guys from Bodily who had done some, so there was some level of enthusiasm in terms of recording local artists, but in a more organized fashion. The CDF had some part to play.
Yeah, I'll find out about it. I'll find out about it.
I know last year, as part of the visit to Venezuela, there was a services agreement signed in November, I believe. A flight was supposed to come in. Any update on this and what's happening?
Well, we have delayed the commencement of the flights. We are doing some preparatory work that's needed before the flight comes in. The flight out of Caracas has to be a feeder flight for us. It has to bring in persons from Brazil, from Colombia, from Argentina, from Chile into Caracas, and then for the Caracas flight to St. Lucia to really make it as meaningful as we want it to be. So a lot of work is going on now to actually make sure all the feeders are in place. In fact, there is a team now in Colombia at Roots Americas where they will hold discussions with airlines on this matter. Is headed by the chairman of the Tourism Authority, and I think the 4 or 5 member team, SLASPA is represented as well, that will discuss all those matters.
In terms of the South American market, is that a market that the SLT, Ministry of Tourism, is looking, to attract visitors from?
No, it is. South America for us is one of the source markets we're looking to develop, and that's why the flight from Venezuela is important, because once we can get all the feeder flights to come in to Caracas, and then that flight from Caracas to St. Lucia, it will be a tremendous boost for us for South America, maybe even as far as Panama, because the flight from Panama can get to Caracas as well. So if we can get that right, it will open up a whole new market for us.
Yeah, I realize that Inter-Caribbean Airways is doing more flights in the region. Speak to the importance of this addition, because we know regional travel is a pressing issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so speak to the importance
Yeah,
of this.
well, it is important, and we're still hoping we can get more options. If you notice the data for last year, the regional travel has increased. We're still about, just about 55-60% of what it was in 2019, but that's an improvement on 40%. So we continue to build those relationships, and we've expressed our support for any regional initiative that can bring more flights to St. Lucia and out of St. Lucia. One that's really hurting us is St. Lucia Martinique, and very shortly we'll have Caribbean Airways flying from St. Lucia. I think there's a 5 o'clock flight in the morning to Martinique, 5 or 6, from St. Lucia to Martinique, and then to come back, and then for the flight to go down to Trinidad. So we're hoping that comes on stream, because right now we have no air links between Martinique and St. Lucia, and that's hurting us, because Martinique was our biggest source market regionally. And the ferry is still there, so it carries quite a lot, but the air bridge is not there. So we are working on that, and very soon we'll make an announcement, a formal announcement on it.
What's the plan from St. Lucia's side to increase visitors from the UK, Canada, I guess Europe? Because we've seen the strong rebound, especially in the American market, but we're still not yet reaching the pre-COVID numbers for these others.
Yeah, well, the UK is still problematic, and half of it has to do with the situation in the UK. Because if you look at some of the other islands, they've actually had a decrease as well from the UK. But St. Lucia has reached a point where we've plateaued. There will not be very much of an increase until we get more rooms. So we've reached that point, we've grown, We'll probably go back to 2019, we'll surpass it slightly, but the next takeoff for St. Lucia will only happen when we get more rooms. That's the fact. Because there's only so many visitors you can get, in the rooms that you have. So I think we're very close to that point where we are plateauing right now. So when we do the redevelopment on the Redry Beach, the Montpinard development, the Canals development, when the Point Seraphin opens, VG Beach opens. I mean, there are a number of developments. When they open the next 2 to 3 years, we'll increase our room stock by almost 2,000 rooms. And then we would expect now for more flights to come in and for the numbers to take off again. So we've done a lot over the years to reach where we are. So if our regional arrivals were back on course, we would have surpassed 2019 already. So that is still a challenge for us, but we're starting to plateau as a destination, and we need the new burst of rooms. We built no major hotel plant in the last 6-7 years. When you think about it, the large major hotel to be built in St. Lucia was Royalton, which is under the last Labour administration. So sometimes when we explain that for 5 years not a hotel room was built, you can understand why we make that point.
Yeah. I was listening to the Guyanese president when he was here, and he was speaking about possibly marketing St. Lucia and Guyana as a single product.
Yeah.
Best of sand and sea and best of forest. Speak to that.
No, we have done that. In fact, when the British Airways flight to Guyana was inaugurated, you'd recall that I actually traveled to Guyana on that flight. And we have seen, for example, a significant increase in visitors from Guyana, for example, to St. Lucia. But the thing about a flight is that almost, I don't want to give you figures, but let me just speak in general. A significantly high percentage of persons who come on the flight, St. Lucia they want to go to. So there's not enough space for you to say you can do St. Lucia, Guyana. Persons come to St. Lucia for their honeymoons, for their vacation. And St. Lucia by itself can carry a significant number of those persons, and therefore saying a St. Lucia Guyana vacation has not really picked up as yet. But we've seen a lot between visitors who leave St. Lucia and go to Guyana, and from Guyana in particular to St. Lucia. We've seen significant arrivals from Guyana to St. Lucia. That we are seeing for sure.
2 questions. I think there was a movie filmed in St. Lucia recently. I can't remember the name. But how do you think that fares well for marketing St. Lucia globally?
Yeah, no, that's a big area. And presently, we don't have a film commission in St. Lucia. And it's something that we need to get going, because for you to promote the use of St. Lucia as a location, you need to have the capacity. In fact, I can tell you there was a proposal for a movie to be shot, but what they were asking for, we really couldn't even provide it. So, for example, they wanted 300 rooms for 6 weeks in one hotel, and that kind of stuff, and we really could not have provided it. And sometimes you are challenged by that, and we don't have a film commission that has put in place all the requirements, because when people come, they need stage hands, they need supporting cast, they need logistics to be in place, they have issues with customs and the equipment and all those things, and we need to have a film commission. The other area we think that's really useful for us is for filming of commercials, not necessarily movies, but commercials, because you can do a commercial for a drink, for Heineken, for a motor vehicle, and that is equally valuable. It doesn't necessarily have to be a movie, or even just a shot in a movie, but if we can also entice the filming of commercials. But you also have to give a lot of concessions for that to happen. And it's a whole new era of activity that we have to go into. There's been some discussion about it, and we're getting ready to do it. And I think it's just a matter of time before we align all the pegs and we act on it.
Some people were speaking about renovating the National Cultural Center, and that proposals were sent to the government. I think the government said something about a renovation of the cultural center?
It is closed now because it is been renovated.
Could you provide some clarity on that?
No, it's been renovated now.
How long would that take?
Well, I mean, I'll have to call and get, I didn't expect you to ask a question to give you a date, but I know the cultural center was closed because there was a handover of the check by the Taiwanese for the repair of the cultural center, and yeah, it's been done. I mean, we need a national cultural center in St. Lucia, I can tell you that. And I've had discussions on it. We have had we've had concepts before for a national cultural center, and it is something which this government intends to pursue at some point. I mean, they have other priorities we're dealing with now, but it is something that we have put on the table. I have looked at a couple of the previous concepts that were proposed. At one time, Dr. Anthony was very advanced in the planning for one to be built at Shock above the Caribbean cinemas, but I'm not sure if that's still available. There are some creatives with a very loud voice that are saying we should keep it where it is at the top of, Bernard Hill. And there are other people that say, no, I mean, let's look for a site that gives us more space for parking and other ancillary services. So the debate still lingers on as to where one should locate a center and the financing of it. Any modern cultural center now with at least 1,000 seats, which is small, because I can tell you from experience, when we did Queen Show last year, we sold 1,000 tickets, we need now to think of an even bigger venue because Queen Show by itself will attract over 1,000 persons. So to build a cultural center now to accommodate 1,000 persons, that has supposed to last another 40, 50 years, doesn't make sense. But a modern center, if all the services and everything for about 1,000 persons is already about $20 million. So if you're talking about building a facility with at least 3,000 seats, or at least expandable to 3,000 seats, you're talking about a sizable amount of money that has to be invested. And then you start talking about maintenance of it. We struggle to maintain the National Cultural Center. Everybody who wants to use it applies for a waiver of the fee to use it. And then you wonder how we can even manage the maintenance. As a small country, the maintenance of national facilities is always a challenge. Look at the Darren Summit Cricket Ground, the Bindo Phillip Park, the Vigi Sports Complex. Those things take significant resources. And if nobody wants to pay, and you still have to maintain it to world class, to upgrade the Darren Summit Cricket Ground now for World T20 is taking a huge amount of money. For example, I was responsible as permanent secretary when we built that facility. The outfield which we built then, which costed us about $1.5 million, is 24 years old. That outfield lasted 24 years. It costed us at 1.5 million then. And some persons were complaining we spent too much money on an outfield, but we said we wanted to provide one that would stand the test of time. We have to change it now. The cost of doing a new outfield at Beausejour now is probably close to $2 million US. Of course, we wouldn't be doing a new one for Cricket World Cup. We'll make some remedial works. But if you want to have a modern outfield, you have to talk about at least $2 million US. The lights is 22 years old. So we now have to change the lights. So we have more modern LED lights. And after 20 odd years, the lights start to turn yellow, whatnot. Millions of dollars to get the modern lights. So if you want to have world-class facilities, you have to make significant investment and be prepared to spend a lot of money maintaining it. If you want to be world-class. When we complete St. Jude next year and the stadium is now ready for renovation, it will cost millions of dollars. Again, I was PS when we built the National Stadium. It will almost cost the same amount to renovate it than it cost us to build it. And we built it in 2002. We completed it in 2002. So that's 22 years ago. So just think about those things. So we have to be very discreet in terms of, how we approach some of those issues. But we have to be brave, and we have to really be imaginative as a people and come up with the most sustainable solutions.
What's the scope of the current renovations that will be undertaken there?
Again, I would have to get the details for you.
How much did the town is donated?
I'll have to get the details for you.
I know this,
If you had briefed me up beforehand, you'd be asking all those questions. I would have come with the
this
information.
might be directly under your purview, but in terms of you are talking about facilities, what is the status with the Folk Research Center?
Well, I'm supposed to receive a presentation from the Folk Research Center board either this week or next week. Maybe not next week, the week after, with the proposal. The Prime Minister, in his first budget, allocated a sum of money for the Folk Research Center to prepare a concept for a new headquarters for the new building for the FRC. I think they have completed the concept of what they want to do, and I will receive it shortly. I know it's ready, and they've asked me for an audience to present it to me. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. I think we need to have a building for the FRC. Certainly it's not at the scale of a national cultural center, so it's a much smaller undertaking. And government has expressed its support to the FRC to make sure that it has a headquarters. It was really painful when the FRC building got burnt and they lost a lot of the treasures. I mean, I was one of the students during my summer who did the oral history project of St. Lucia, where we recorded persons all over the island, the midwives and the chanteuses and all of them, and to have lost all those recordings, because those persons have passed away. And I can tell you they had some fascinating stories that, and these are original sources. And some of those persons carried tales and stories from slaves because their grandfather would have been a slave or their grandmother. And they had some really, really fascinating oral history, stored there, and to have lost it in the fire was really painful. And we need to make sure we have an FRC that has the capability to record our history and to be able to preserve it and safeguard it for future generations. And that's what we're going to look forward to see how we can give them support.
So would the same location?
Same location, yeah, same location.
What about the, proposals, recommendations for museum? Whether
Yeah.
it's there or somewhere in the city, if that's true.
Yeah, there's actually right now an initiative looking into the establishment of a national museum. I think a site has been mentioned to cabinet by the person who has the lead on that. And of course, once they submit the document to cabinet for consideration, I can tell you that Lady Compton is the lead on this matter, and she is speaking to all stakeholders and putting all ideas together, and she will present to the Prime Minister a proposal for the establishment. Of course, like I said, she is going to consult with all stakeholders, and we're very thankful that she's offered to take the lead on this and to make sure that we establish a national museum in St. Lucia.
Nobody asking the hard question?
Yeah,
I
ask
have
it.
one. You want the hard one? They're coming from this side or both sides. So, as Information and Broadcast Minister, I don't know if there's a board or body that monitors the kind of content that is broadcast on radios and TV stations. Certainly, you may have an opinion, or because a lot of the content is subjective, right? But as Information and Broadcast Minister, hearing a commentator suggest or infer, pick a word, that a fellow island nation that is in turmoil, to suggest that these people continue killing off one another, as in your capacity as Information and Broadcast Minister, when you hear that kind of content, I know there's all sorts of comments about the radio, the music we play and so on, no problem, we live in a democracy, but those sentiments in particular, how do they strike you?
Well, I listened to the comments and I've heard some of the feedback on it, and I think, first of all, I support the call that Timothy should withdraw his comments and apologize. I think it's a decent thing to do. I mean, there are times we all say things out of turn. Sometimes we say it without really reflecting on it. Sometimes we say it out of anger. And we have to have the character where we can say, I messed up, let me take that one back. And all of us do. And if I say anything, I believe that would have offended anybody, I think I will apologize, and because we're not perfect, and I'm not perfect, and he's not perfect. And the comments he made were highly offensive, insensitive, lacked any empathy. It lacked even a historical understanding of the situation of Haiti. And as a public broadcaster, I think he should really reflect on what he said and to withdraw it. And this is not even politics. This is not partisan politics. Timothy and I disagree on party politics. I mean, he has his side. I'm from the Central Labour Party. I'm minister in the government, and he's an advocate of the opposition. So that's clear. So we disagree. But this is not about this. This is about just being a humane person and understanding that your words were totally inappropriate. And I think Timothy should take back those. And if he does not do so, the station should ask him to act accordingly. And this is not attacking Hilaire as a public figure. You can attack me as a public figure. I'm supposed to take blows. I take my blows. If you cross the line and it becomes a persistent defamation, I may want to take action against you. But I expect to get blows, as a public figure. That's not what it is about. It's about decency. It's about showing some sensitivity to the situation in Haiti. And to suggest that they should just be killing each other and let them just kill off each other as a public broadcaster is really sad. And I hope he withdraws and apologizes for those comments.
Do you think there should, I think, as Brian alluded to, should there be some sort of commission to guard what is being said in terms of, we see in the US with the ratings so different what can be said during prime time and other hours. So is it something we can talk about?
Well, I think in the UK they have their watchdog, I think it's Ofcom, that would sanction newspapers, radio stations, television when they cross the line. Now, I'm not a big fan of those regulatory commissions when it comes to public expression. I think that a lot of it should be, self-monitoring and peer review, where among themselves stations can agree on a code of conduct and how they convey information to the public. I honestly am not a big supporter of government, clamping down. And why is because we've all seen what can happen when the wrong set of politicians take control of those regulatory bodies. But as an industry, the media in St. Lucia should be able to say, look, there are certain lines we will not cross, or certain things we will not do. And I think they should do it. And if I am to get involved, is to see to those media houses that you need to take on some responsibility and collectively agree how you're going to deal with issues like that, because you can't have people on stations. And what Timothy did is a continuation of what other people have done, like Peter Josie. He was a public broadcast, virtually saying to the young men in Viewfort, you tell who they should shoot and who they should and whatnot, and even taking a bad social situation and veering it in a particular direction rather than coming up with solutions and approaches that can solve those problems. It's just a continuation. The call last year from the United Workers' Party, Haru from Viewfort, and a number of others calling on for people to behave in a particular way is a consistent theme. He applied it to Haiti, but it reflects a state of mind.
But we have seen, no excuse because I haven't heard what was said, but this is not the only show. We hear some of the worst things we could possibly think of. Far less to even be said on air. This is not the only show. We hear it on radio station, we see it on social media for the different TV stations that broadcast. There are some of them, some shows, things are being said, and there is no oversight. Whether it is from the broadcaster, the owners, the people themselves, and even from you as a broadcaster information minister. A lot of things are being said, and to me, there seems to be a hypocrisy amongst politicians, amongst leaders in our society as to who says what and when it's okay. Because when other people say certain things, it's okay because that's my person, that's my people, so it's okay. You find you come up with the most beautiful excuses as to why you're allowed to make such utterances, right? But if it's others, it is not. And how do you stop that? How do you balance that? How do you get it right that no one, whether it is you supporting this party or not, whether it is you don't like this idea or not, that you do not go overboard? How do we get this balance?
No, but that's the point I made. And my view is there should be some peer, review of what has been done and how to deal with it, and not to put it in the hands of politicians, because for the exact reason that you're saying, you're right. But a lot of those things are subjective. What some people believe is crossing a line for others may not be. But if collectively the practitioners can agree on the benchmarks, what are the triggers that will say, look, you've crossed that line now? I don't want to define that line for them. I don't want to, because I'm a politician. I don't want to. I have my views on it. But my point I'm trying to make is, as professionals, certainly y'all can sit down and agree that if a host says, a public broadcaster says to people, y'all can go and kill each other, I just leave these people alone, them just go and kill each other, that cannot be acceptable. That's different to saying, as a Philippe stupid, me tell know what he about, and as a prime minister, me lost. That's different. One can say, if you condemn the speaker for saying about Philippe, it might be partisan, because he's your man, he's your prime minister, and you might feel you're insulting him to say that. But he's a public figure. But it's a different thing when you call on people, the young people should go and shoot all them politicians and things like that. Nobody can convince me that's not crossing the line. Nobody can convince me, but that's my view. I'm a politician. I think the practitioners should agree among themselves, And even one time, you remember the press conference we had, I had to call one of the reporters and say to him, and he's a very good friend of mine, he's my good friend, to say, no, bro, you cross the line. You just do not do those things. And I think, and he took it in good spirits and whatnot. And I think you have to do that as practitioners, to agree on and call out people when they have crossed the line, regardless of which party or who's on it. And at the end of the day, our country matters more than anything else. At the end of the day.
So there's a certain standard that should be.
Yeah, that should be established, and I don't think you should leave it to politicians to really enforce it and to go after who they think would have broken it.
I don't think it's about politicians, but government as the sort of regulatory board, put it like that, not politicians, government.
Well,
so you have the technocrats involved. Whether it is you involve, I guess, persons from the media themselves, honors.
Yeah, it can be done that way.
Something like
It
that.
can
But
be,
we
yeah.
do something
I
because
agree.
a lot of things are being said every day
Well,
across stations.
Luckily, I don't listen to all of them every day. I think I'll get a lot more stress than I get already. But I can imagine.
Yeah,
I can
so
imagine.
I'm hoping next time what he said at other stations it was pointed out during this press conference.
No. Like I said to you, I did not hear when he said it live. I did not. But I saw the clip that was circulated. I heard the regional reaction to it. And let me tell you, this has not just been the recording that has been going around. Throughout the region, that has been talked about, because we are a global village now. So, yes, it is. So the next time somebody says something like that, do a clip and circulate it.
Because a few years ago, the man from Echo, Stevie was telling me that it was costing, I think, less than $500 to register for a radio station. So you just go up, you have your money, you say you have a radio station, whether it's speaking Creole, whether it's speaking French, whether it's speaking German, whether it's Christian, but there's no regulatory frame. So within the media sector, I think you should have some ethics.
I think, you're right. I think the first 2 years in government, we focused heavily on tourism, the tourism development bill, the community tourism bill. In this coming year, there'll be a focus on the creative industries and on information. So this information bill that has been circulated, my intention in this coming year is to bring some finality to it. So, you will see some action on that, both the creatives and information. And the last government had done quite a lot of work on it. And they still have a lot of stakeholders who don't like the version that's on the table. We will address it once and for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Minister.
All right? Thank you very much. Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
So, a couple of developments. I was selected as the chair of the OECS Youth and Sports Council, the first ever in our region. Followed that up by having the first ever Island Champs on the weekend, which of course Viewfort came out on top overall and in the male division. So we continue to make strides in terms of reshaping the landscape of youth and sports. And so we're going to continue to do that with the semi-pro continuing this weekend, blockbuster event at Sufre Mini Stadium.
Let's start with Island Champs. Big move to the weekend. From all indications, it was somewhat of, well, a success. Tell me, you were at the grounds, tell me what the experience was like, one, and maybe scope for improvement going forward.
It was unbelievable. I think we knew the benefit of moving Island Champs to the weekend, and we saw it. We saw so many parents, so many families with their coolers coming and making it a vibe. And that is what you want. I am of the firm belief that when you invest in track and field and you have an Island Champs, it really is the heartbeat of sports development. I mean, track and field is pulsating, it's infectious, and you really could see that, especially during the relays, how exciting it was. And of course, if you look at Jamaica, if you look at Trinidad, if you look at Grenada, what they've done is really invest in their schools competition. And I think by moving it to the weekend, we've commenced that. Obviously, when you're doing something, it's the inaugural event, there are certain kinks that you see, but nothing major. And so we deem this thing an overall success, and we're going to only improve. Thanks to First National Bank for the absolutely huge investment of $100,000 in our sports development program as it pertains to Island Champ. And of course, First National has said they're investing, and their quest is to find the other Julian, Alfred, Michael, Joseph, and Laverne Spencer. Of course, it took us 40 years before we got to that medal in terms of independence. But with that sort of investment, we know we are further along than previously.
In terms of security at the venue, what was it like?
The security was absolutely robust. We had over 25 security in and around the venue, and another 15 in the community doing their shakes from very early to ensure that people understood that this is a national event and this is an event that they will not compromise. Obviously, we had a kerfuffle at the end. I'm not sure that you go to many events and there's no, that it's flawless and it's perfect. Whenever you're dealing with young people, from time to time, you will find misbehavior. We don't condone it. And of course, the investigation is ongoing to ensure that it does not happen again. But, sometimes you react to certain things because you do not expect that sort of behavior. But I think at the end of the day, generally the event was absolutely astounding, and we only know that it's going to get better and better. We encourage the individuals, the past students, the alumni from the different schools and the communities to really draw nigh to their sports program and help in terms of augmenting it and making this thing even bigger and bigger going forward.
Yes, and we observe the posters, clearly with Julian Alfred, depicting Julian Alfred. Do you think this in some way can boost that enthusiasm that people, parents now want to see their children be not a Julian, but at least doing well enough in sports to be recognized?
Absolutely. That was deliberate, featuring Julian Alfred in the posters all around the mini stadium, simply because she is the benchmark, she is the example we want these are the young ladies and young men to follow. And if you listen to the interviews of the winners, most of them were saying that they are so inspired by Julian Alfred. And so First National Bank, in terms of collaborating with the ministry, have indicated that they were going to come on board to really make Julian Alfred the centerpiece of our Island Champs from henceforth. And so we see the inspiration that she brings to our athletes. Despite the fact that the place was absolutely blazing hot, we could have seen seen that there is a monster crowd and a lot of enthusiasm on the track, which is what we promised. We promised that moving it to the weekend would see return on investment for sponsors, and we need more sponsors to come on board. We know during the week it was not working, but we had thousands looking online for First National Bank's online page and also Winners TV, and so many more watching live, and so we are very, very buoyed by this.
What has become of the consultations with the Rosalie community with regards to the helipad? Where are they? I know they had a first consultation, it was a bit tense, but where are they on that?
I was not part of this consultation. I was not invited to the consultation, and so I do not have a comment on that. But for the first time in our history, we are seeing a real shift in what sports development can do to our young people. We've had 3 consecutive weeks of huge events in sports development and very little crime and violence. So you could see at the end of the day that there must be a correlation with investing in young people, financing activities, and seeing that for sure this is the direction we need to go. We, as a ministry, we have the program for cricket, the high performance program for cricket. We've launched the Island Champs. We've launched the Semi-Pro League. We've removed VAT on all sports equipment, and so we've signaled to young people that we didn't just invest into a youth economy, but we are investing in all walks of life to give them a better option going forward.
Sorry, but back to my question. At the consultation, it was said that you were invited, however, you declined that you would not have been available at the time. You had to attend something else.
That's not true.
Right, and that would have been Parliament.
That's not true.
But the PS of the ministry said that you were invited because many people were asking where were you.
That's not true. It's a simple question. If you send an email to an email that doesn't exist and there was no call to you as a parliamentary rep for an event, you would consider yourself to be invited. By that measure, all of y'all could be invited to everything.
Well, it's not my, he said that based on what he was saying is that they did have communication and that you did reply saying that you would not be able to attend because you had a previous engagement.
I don't know how else you want me to say that's not true.
Yeah. Your appointment on the regional committee as the chair, I believe, speak to the significance of this and what exactly is this committee, what it's about?
Well, the OACS Ministers of Youth and Sport, they collaborating to get more economies of scale as we continue to develop young people. You would see that at Corinth, we've had installed the first ever 100% lighting system that is solar, that is off the grid, and that is a benchmark for what could be replicated throughout the region. And so we've had a lot of successes in St. Lucia, especially last year, and so we felt that we can replicate those things if we join our efforts. The cost of those lights was almost $2.5 million. And we believe that if we as a 12-nation body decide that we are going to do 12 every year, that cost would be significantly reduced. And so these are the efforts we are going to do, going to put together to ensure that we have better facilities. We also spoke about the OECS championships that has been on the docket for a while now, and we've decided that we are going to work towards establishing that level of competition so that more people could be involved in what we do and in active competition. In terms of youth, we've had a number of conversations about what's been happening in our small islands in terms of the emergence of 6 and 7 and the crime prevalence in schools with young people. And we sat down and we've decided that we're not going to be only reactive through justice reform, but we're also going to be proactive by making recommendation for another number to be used as opposed to 6 and 7. And we've identified that number as 1. And we just want people to say, young persons to say, instead of they are 6 or 7, realize that they are 1 in a million, that they have a contribution to make to society, that they as one individual can decide their own destiny as opposed to letting somebody else peg you into something negative. And so you will see the launch of Project 1 very soon amongst the OECS countries and territories. We at the ministry, we are putting the entire concept together to bring the best social media influencers in terms of the best singers, whether it's Alfred, whether it's Ricky T, whether it's Ezra the Fun Machine, and of course Teddy St. John, best footballers on the island, whether it's Julian, Alfred, to identify themselves as one as opposed to identifying themselves as 6 or 7. And we believe at the end of the day that will be the transformation that we need in the discussion of what's happening with our young people.
In terms of benchmarks and the identifying, for example, Julian as a benchmark for athletics going forward, coming out of Ireland champs, in terms of the persons who medaled, what are the prospects or some of the highlights you may have gotten from their performance at the event? I will tell you, okay, well, we have the next one in line.
Well, we have a number of athletes that have shown the potential. One of those athletes is Naomi London from Viewfort. She also signed on with the Texas Longhorns, but unfortunately she's had some issues with injuries over the last few months, and so she's been nursing them. She did feature in the 4x100 meters for Viewfort, which really pleased me. She's so committed to her community. So this is one of the individuals, but we have a number of other individuals in javelin and shot put that were not featured on the day, but were gold medalists. That shows us that we have a lot of potential out there, especially in the field events. And so we're just looking to ensure that we have our programs ready, because coaching is very important in terms of nurturing these athletes and sending them overseas to get the best sort of attention that they need.
Just briefly, in the Northern community, there's issue of the noise abatement. It's been a few months since we discussed this. What is the update? What is the latest on this?
Well, we have a document in circulation, and one of the things we've done is we've gotten from the police the barometers that we're going to use to actually fit into the noise pollution recommendations for all of St. Lucia. When you're making an amendment to any document, you're not making it for just one community. People say it's just for Rodney Bay. No, it's based on standards for across the board, whether you have a community that is residential, or whether it's entertainment and residential. So we have the different decibel levels that the police went and do the evaluation, and they made the recommendations to the Attorney General Chambers, that was submitted to the Attorney General Chambers. And so this is the only thing that we as a cabinet need to opine on and then make a firm decision on how we deal with noise pollution.
So was there some consultation with stakeholders? Did they have some merit? Did they have some say in it?
Well, of course, because the document has been circulated. The only thing that has not been circulated is what the police suggested in terms of noise, what's objectively considered noise. Even then, you would never be able to please everybody. You would have some of the DJs and the owners saying that is too low. You'll have the residents saying that is too high. But I think what we've done is we've tried our best to get a middle ground, and most importantly, thereafter, you will have to ensure that there is litigation and there is execution on behalf of the police to ensure that there's implementation of those noise levels. And that's what we are hoping for, and we are hoping that that is happening very soon.
There are changes to the times as well. The music, I know there's a current law speaks to a certain time.
Yes, so there are changes in terms of what noise levels are at a particular time. I don't think there's changes to the time per se, but at 2 o'clock, the noise levels you'll appreciate will be different from 6 o'clock in the evening. So that is some of what we've done going forward.
Last question from me. We see the focus in the semi-professional football league mostly on males, but we know that there are some very talented young female athletes. Could we see something similar in that regard for young females?
Yes, so in everything you're doing, you have to crawl before you walk, and you have to walk before you run, and before you jog, and and then you have to take a little jog before you can sprint. And so right now, I think it would be foolhardy for us to believe that we can invest one time into both male and female semi-pro leagues, considering only 2 islands in the entire Caribbean actually have a male football league of that nature. And so we're going to find ways to filter the women into it, whether or not we do 4 teams across the quadrants. But for now, we are still, the SLFA is still focused on female football. They still have their programs ongoing, and we as a ministry, we are now focused on not just developing football at the younger age through Stuart Charles and Earl Jean, but having a semi-pro league that they could eventually get into.
Just to say now, the first thing is to announce that we are having the Cannabis Symposium starting tomorrow, God willing. It's at Sandals Grand. And what we're doing is to have a conversation among Caribbean CEOs of institutions with responsibility for that cannabis industry. As you know, we at the Ministry of Commerce have the responsibility to introduce the cannabis industry in St. Lucia. We've done that with extensive stakeholder conversation. After much conversation and thinking, we have been to Parliament and looked at the regulatory framework. And we have done the first part of it. And now what we're doing is to actually come in with the precise cannabis bill. But we felt that it was important, if we are to have a strong cannabis industry, that we should look at it from a regional perspective instead of just a St. Lucia perspective. So we've been having conversations with different countries, but now, tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, we are having a conversation with all countries together for 2 days to focus on dotting the I's and crossing the T's so that we can come to Parliament with a cannabis bill. Your press is invited to go in there and ask the right questions.
Yes, I did some lead up to this, and there's the Cannabis Commission.
Yes.
So would this be something significant in terms of holding this structure, in terms of the movement forward?
Well, one of the things we spoke about, I think you're talking about the regional forum.
Yes.
Yes, we intend to sign an MOU so that we can work together. We're hoping that we can achieve that tomorrow, God willing. And yes, it will provide a framework for the Caribbean to work with the international world. Because as you know, the cannabis industry, the whole thing is moving in a very fast way. But what is happening in the developed countries definitely impacts us, especially our financial system. And as you may know, if you're listening to CNN and so on, you could see off and on, you can hear something from President Biden or the US in terms of how they intend to treat the cannabis industry. Sometime last year, both the legal counsel at the Ministry of Commerce and I attended a cannabis conference, and I was surprised at the size of that conference, and the entire world was there. So it has the potential to be a very big thing, but we want to ensure that we take the right steps to ensure that the structure that we're putting in place here in St. Lucia takes us to the next step in terms of value added. That's important, but also how do we protect our young persons. That's one of the major things for us, that we don't want to open the door. So we need to, we continue to engage the churches, we continue to engage the school system, the Ministry of Health, to ensure that whatever we are doing, that we have our arms around it properly.
And the Bureau of Standard will play?
Yes, Mr. Vernie Manuel actually sits on the committee, so we continue to engage on that.
Any specific plans? You said engaging the churches and the schools, but any specific plans for educational campaigns? Any
Yes,
specific plans for
continuous. In fact, that's one of the areas I felt we are a little slow on. So, yes. And also the police, we've been engaging the police in a big way. Yeah.
Has a board been appointed for the commission?
Yes, the cabinet have actually appointed a board. Yes.
I know April is fast approaching. The second call for the MSME loan grant facility, I'm told, is
April the 2nd.
So there will be a second call.
Yes, we made the announcement. I made an announcement in Parliament. The second call for the MSME is April the 2nd. So what we are encouraging the public to do is to ensure that you have your plans together, ensure that you call the ministry and get the requirements and get your papers and documents ready so that by the second calling, you can come in and deposit your package and your application. I must tell you that I think original call, as I've said, is just over 500 applicants, about 260 being women. So it was almost a 50-50 split between male and female. We are now working with the SLDB so that all what I would say are areas that we've learned, because there were some delays, as you know, in the disbursements, especially when it had to do with purchasing items on the internet, because as you know, persons would get a price on a particular day, and by the time their loans were approved and so on, there's a different cost and price. So that provided some challenges. I think we're trying to work that out. But definitely I really want to encourage persons between the ages of 31 and 60 to please prepare and apply. So government of St. Lucia, again, putting the people of St. Lucia first. So I always want to remind St. Lucians to put themselves first. And you can only put yourself first when you have an application in.
Lately, the PMA taken advanced steps in terms of the World Heritage. How is this panel and how much work has been done?
World Heritage, people management area.
People management area. You're right. We have a new manager in place, Mrs. Hippolyte, and one of her focus is to educate persons as to the rights and responsibilities under the PMA. We intend to do a lot more public education on that. We've had some challenges in terms of the utilization of land at the base of the Piton. So there's conversation going on now in that area. It's a challenge for us, and I think it's a challenge that we need to discuss as a people, because as you know, the Pitons are our national heritage, it's our symbol, but especially in terms of Gros Piton, the land at the base of the Piton is privately owned. So that is a challenge that we're trying to address. Because if we allow the landowners to do what they want, then the Piton will not be what we know it as. So with government and private sector, we are hoping to deal with that matter. So then I should report that between February the 26th and Friday 1st March, I led a delegation between public sector and private sector, public sector being staffed by Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce, the Director of SEDU and Director of Commerce and Industry, as well as private sector was the President of the Bakers Association, and we visited Taiwan to understand what was happening as it relates to technology, to see how best we could understand our relationship and to see how we could improve trade between the two countries. Also part of the delegation was Ambassador Robert Lewis, who's based in Taipei. I want to take this moment to thank Ambassador Peter Chen for organizing and facilitating our delegation. That went on very well. We were able to meet government officials, various ministries, ministry responsible for digitization, ministry responsible for trade, TITRA. We also met with business persons one-on-one. We were able to visit factories, firms, see what they were doing. And I can say we were able to as well meet with St. Lucians who are business persons in Taiwan, and also met with the students, St. Lucian students in Taiwan. I would say, based on the feedback that we had and what we saw, that we had a successful mission. Now I have to report to the cabinet, and decisions will be taken and how we implement those decisions. There's also, from what we learned, there's also another trade fair in June, and we are hoping that St. Lucia could participate so that we could see some of our products being present at the exhibition.
That's in Taiwan?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I know maybe this might be the right forum, but there was one time there was talk about boat building. I mean, the Taiwanese help St. Lucia because, you know, we surrounded with water, we have young and boat builders, we have met a few of them in Sufre, and they want that kind of, you know, that kind of support.
You are correct, because when we visited with Dr. Anthony a few years ago, and we first Mr. Is it Kavbadidia? Yes, we had a very positive feedback from the Taiwanese government or private sector then to try to have a boat registry in St. Lucia. That I believe is an initiative that we should still follow on, because as you know, Taiwan is very big on mega yachts, and I believe that it still provides an avenue for us. So that was the Taiwanese trip. Also, I had the good fortune to attend the 8th Inter-American Dialogue on High-Level MSME Authorities and Conferences, which took place in Washington, D.C. Wednesday and Thursday last week. Again, we had a delegation from the Ministry of Commerce. We had one person representing the Chamber of Commerce, and we had 2 entrepreneurs, because the focus was on women. So we had 2 of our ladies who are in manufacturing attended, and they were supported by UN Women. Our expenses and everything else was funded by the OAS. And I was part of a panel on the Wednesday discussing what policies we need to put in place to ensure that women benefit from the whole MSME ecosystem in the world. Again, it provided an opportunity because we were sitting with 28 other countries to focus on the micro and small, because the micro and small business sector is a critical sector for all our economies. And women, the women businesses within that sector is about 1/3 of that sector. So we really wanted to narrow in and focus on what are the policies that we're going to put in place, especially for the Caribbean and Latin America. Although when you look at the Americas, you have different sectors, the Latin Americans have various needs that are very different to what's in the Caribbean and so on, and it's very different to what is in North America. But we're able to sit down and agree some of the key issues that we should be focusing on for the next 3 years, which will become a work plan for the OAS. So again, it was critical that St. Lucia had a voice at the table.
On the home front, we know of the exploits of Helen daughters.
Yes.
Is this something that you see could emulate in some of the rural communities for young women for singing?
Well, again, Helen Daughters, and it's a good structure that they have to cause women to participate. They are not only in St. Lucia, I think they have gone over to another in St. Kitts. Yeah, they've gone to another OAS country as well. What we are trying to do is to look at how we could open the space for women in general, and that includes rural women. And that is why our MSME program is so critical going forward. At the moment, the government has invested some $10 million in there. This year, we are looking at how we can do a separate program for vendors. So we're trying to bring persons into the business, into the formal business structure, as you may, and to give them the helping hand, because our MSMEs did get a very, what I would say, a TKO after COVID. A lot of them, unless we give them a helping hand, some of them have gone under, but now we have to provide that lifeline for them to succeed. And that is what the ministry is doing, both in terms of the, as you know, the grant loan program that we have now. And I must tell you that quite a few other countries were impressed with our government for taking that bold step and investing in our MSMEs. Others have the same problems that we have, but their governments have not responded in the way that our government have responded. So I want to take this moment again to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for providing the financing for our MSMEs. And I want to take this moment to thank the OAS for working with us in terms of assisting, because with the small business sector, the issue is, first we provide them with the funding, but more than anything else, the technical support, the hand-holding that is critical. Because if you get the monies and if we do not know how to run the business, if we do not participate in the training that is required, and that's important. And as I say, I want our MSME beneficiaries to remember what we've been telling them. You need to participate in training. You need to understand the shifts that you have to do. When you look at the world of business now, you need to embrace e-commerce. The product that you have needs to be, you need to be able to sell it anywhere in the world. You need to embrace standards, and that is why we are giving this grant fund, so you can get some stock, but at the same time, if you're a hairdresser, you need to get a certificate. You need to improve the quality of the service that you're providing. Because if you want the person to come in, you need to get the training, you need to know the quality of skincare, depending if you're doing a spa. So, and that is where we are heading. We want to do the hand-holding, but we want our MSMEs to appreciate that it's not just the funding, it is also the technical support.
Yes, so here, I know the Ministry of Commerce is taking the lead in this, the upcoming Cannabis conference. But how big is this for regional partners? How big is this for the...
Yeah, well, you're right. The Ministry of Commerce is taking the lead. You know, so the national government has made some revolutionary steps as far as cannabis is concerned. We not only legalize the use of small coins of cannabis in private, we also expunged from the record anyone who is convicted of offenses as it relates to cannabis, small coins of cannabis. We've also allowed everybody to grow. Everyone can grow for their own private use. It's important, the private use, a few trees of cannabis. And generally, we are trying to see whether we can take it to the other level. The other level is whether you can use cannabis for medicinal and export value. That's what we're taking it for. But to do that, it's going to be formalized. We have a cannabis commission that comprises of people from the Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Health, from the churches, etc. We need to formalize it. We need to take it to the other level. But I want to re-emphasize and to say that the trafficking of cannabis is still an offense on the books of St. Lucia, and the use of cannabis in public is still an offense. But we've liberalized some of the private use. We've liberalized the planting of trees, I think it's 4 trees for your own private use. But so what we want to do is take it to the other level. And who knows, it might lead to the full liberalization of cannabis. But they have to take it in steps. The next steps would be cannabis for medicinal and export value.
So this regional,
export use.
This regional conference will
help solidify the approach, so we can, because you know St. Vincent's is doing some things, so we will bring it together. You see, we have to work together as a region, and that's important for us. Because in the U.S., it's almost an industry in the U.S., in many parts of the U.S.
Can cannabis be the new green and gold?
That's what it said, but...
The
who? Next Tuesday. We go to the Parliament tomorrow, not for the estimates, but next Tuesday I'll be presenting the estimates of expenditure and revenue. And then you go to the state of the economy, basically the state of the economy, and I can assure you that you will not be disappointed with what you hear. We're very buoyed as to how the economy is shaping up. There are some downside risk, but we're very happy. We're not satisfied, but we're happy as to where we are now. But it's continuous improvement. We've got to improve all the time. We've got to look at our ratios, we look at our expenditure, our revenue. But tomorrow, on next Tuesday, you're going to get a snapshot as to the company's balance sheet. That's what basically you're going to get next Tuesday. And the 24th of April, we're going to give you the appropriation bill, where you're going to get the government's policies moving forward.
So we understand that more RSS officers will be coming to the island, will be coming while you're returning. Can you share?
No, they're not returning to the island for St. Lucia. They're returning for a military exercise for the entire region, not basically for St. Lucia.
And any updates with Minister Virginia Albert?
She's home resting comfortably, and according to her doctors, she's improving, continuous improvement, yes.
So we'll be seeing her back soon, hopefully? Yeah.
She's got holidays. As soon as the holidays, you surely will be seeing her back.
There have been cries in the past for the possible adding of a government-funded bus system in addition to what currently.
This is not in the government.
They don't plan.
This is not in the government. This is not in the government. No, we're not. No,
Okay.
no.
There are plans to introduce a private company though.
Private company, we are free enterprise business, but the government will not be entering the company. The government will not be going into any championship business. The government is not.
Okay.
What is the latest with the Millennium Highway? We noticed a lot of
Oh, you know some work is going on, yes. It's going on. I'm still not satisfied, but work is going on, and we hope that we've been given an end date now, which I will not say. But we've been given an end date. But work is going on. Work is going on. Work is going on. But I'm still not satisfied. But work is going on.
So you think this year is
I'm not going to say any date.
In terms of the year of infrastructure, what can you give us in terms of generally what's happening in the country?
As I said before, the infrastructure is not only about roads. It's very important that we do not think the year of infrastructure is only about roads. Very important. Because some people may want to pretend that infrastructure is only about roads. It's about buildings, it's about hospitals, it's about schools, it's about airports, it's about seaports, it's about housing, and it's about roads. The year of infrastructure is about all these components. Roads are only part of the year of infrastructure. And you may have noticed that there's been an improvement in the road surface in St. Lucia. There's been a great improvement. Not yet. We're not there yet. But there has been an improvement. We're not there yet, but there has been an improvement. Continuous improvement, step by step. But I want to reiterate that the year of infrastructure is not only about roads.
But will there be any specific products that will be completed this year?
In terms of?
Infrastructure in general. So you said.
Sure. Well, the easiest, I'll tell you something. There's a $16 million project as far as schools are concerned. We hope to finish some of them. Right? Some roads will become. I just want to make it sure, I just want to reiterate that it's not only about roads. Infrastructure is not only about roads. We have an ambitious housing program that's going to come on the stream. Not only about roads. I just want to make it clear that the year of infrastructure is not only about roads.
So the leader of the opposition had returned to the AG requesting a legal interpretation of the constitutional amendments that were made last year. Where are we on that? I think.
Where are we on that? The Attorney General, the leader of the opposition, asked the Attorney General in a letter whether he could consider what is called an Attorney General's reference, where the Attorney General seeks from the High Court an opinion on something. We wrote him back and said, yes, we're going to be doing it. And we asked him for his input. We asked the leader of the for his input into the letter, into the Attorney General's reference. We've not yet received it. But we asked him for his input.
So a response will come before the next sitting?
No, the next sitting is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then what happens if
The deputy speaker will be elected tomorrow.
Who will be the deputy speaker?
Come tomorrow.
So yeah, I'm looking at if the High Court does interpret it as what he said is right, then what?
This government always follows the Constitution, always. You may note that the country, the Parliament, was in session for nearly 6 years without a deputy speaker. And I can assure you, the Parliament will be in session tomorrow with a deputy speaker. I can assure you that. Tomorrow, the Parliament will meet and there will be a deputy speaker. That is an assurance.
What about the discussions that we would have had in Venezuela when there was the state visit? The fruits that came out of this, the areas of cooperation, where are we on that?
Okay.
What?
Venezuela is in general elections. Elections are coming in Venezuela. When elections are happening, like in the US, elections are in November. Times when elections are coming, everybody is seeing about things other than bilateral and trilateral agreements. So we are working on the airline, the flight, and we're also working on housing. The government is paying a lot of attention to housing. So these are two things we are working on, but it's ongoing. But as you know, the Venezuelan government's priority now is the elections, which is happening in this year.
Have you received any reports from the Commissioner of Police regarding the investigations into the allegations that were made against the senior police officer? What is happening with that?
There has, as I have said in the public, that no one has come forward. Up to today, as far as I know, no one has come forward. No one has come forward. No one has come forward, either in private or in public, to substantiate these claims, as far as that's what I've been told by the Commissioner of Police. That's what I've been told. And this has been our position for a long time, that somebody must come forward.
Okay. The government was also having discussions with the DSH developer on, I guess, looking at the agreement again, renegotiating that agreement. What is happening? Where are we?
As the Minister of Investment may have told you, that the DSH investor had claimed that the government hadn't kept many of its promises. That matter is ongoing. And if you recall that we always said that we have nothing against foreign investment. We'd always said so. That's been our position. In fact, there has been more foreign investment under our government. And I'm sure the Minister of Tourism have told you the number of projects that are going to start. You understand? There's been more foreign investment under our government than under the last government. And that is the paradoxical thing about it. You understand? A government that purports to be a foreign investment government hasn't brought any foreign investment, but we are. And these are facts. You understand? As far as the SEC is concerned, our position was always clear. We thought that the agreement needed to be looked into. We thought that there were aspects of the agreement that we did not agree with. We have been always clear on that. We've sought dialogue with the DSH developers. It's in progress, and the Minister of Investment will advise you further. But I know that there's been progress, there have been discussions with the DSH investors. So.
The Deputy Prime Minister spoke about projects being funded by CIP funds. Could you?
Well, he will tell you he's the deputy. He's in charge of the CIP.
So during the meeting with the Interior Minister, he did speak to installing these police specialists at the embassy, at the French embassy. What are your thoughts on that, and how will it?
As we agreed, we agreed to collaborate. You see, we collaborated with all our allies, the Americans, the French, the British. Our aim is to have zero crime. That is our objective, to have zero crime. Zero. The government has a zero tolerance towards crime. And you will hear in the estimates the investment we've done in crime prevention. We just appointed a Minister of Crime Prevention. But, so we accept any help once the rights of St. Lucians are not infringed, once St. Lucians' human rights are not infringed, once there is fairness and there is equity, we accept any help to combat crime. Once there is fairness, there is equity, and the rights of St. Lucians are not infringed upon, we're going to accept all help, any help, to combat crime. It's a scourge that we can't afford.
Will this police specialist be helping the police? What is
He'll be working in cooperation with the police to deal with issues of mutual interest. As I said before, there are border issues. There's trans-border crime, movement of drugs, movement of firearms, movements of illegal immigrants. There's illegal migration. We'll be working on these elements. But the St. Lucia Police Force will remain in charge of operations in St. Lucia. That doesn't change.
So he's just working
In conjunction, in collaboration, yes, to discuss intelligence, because the French have access to intelligence, they have access to a lot of equipment, which they're going to help us. In fact, they were going to get a dog from them. That may please you to know that we're going to get a dog from the French. The French minister assured me that the money for the dog would have been here. I think that it even has a name already. But we're going to get a dog to help in a Creole name. What do you?
The dog market in English or
We're going to get a dog.
Is there a cost to the government?
No, the dog is the French government is funding the purchase and the training of the dog, but of course you must take the reign expenses as time goes. But the French is funding it, and the minister assured me that that's going to happen. So you're going to have.
Yeah, I know that Mr. Jeremiah Norbert was recently appointed Minister for Persons with Disabilities.
Yes.
Now I know that also the Minister for Equity kind of had.
There'll be a portfolio reallocation.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. How does
all issues with the disabilities. Now, it's surprising that we have been criticized, even some elements ridiculed for Minister of Disabilities. But I mean, why are memories so short? I have come here on this platform in public and made the position on disabilities clear. I've said so. I mean, that should be no secret. I brought the chairman, the president of the Council of Disabled People. I took him with a tour. I took him to Rwanda with me as part of my delegation. Why are our memories conveniently so short? We took him. He was part of a government delegation. It's the first time somebody with disabilities has been treated in that manner by any government in St. Lucia. We did it. You understand? We increased the allocation. We've worked with farmers with disabilities. Right now, there's a big agricultural project going on in a government facility for people with disabilities. Our position has been clear. We've been clear on that. So I see no reason why anybody should question our sincerity in appointing a minister for disabilities. We've been clear. I have stated my position clearly. I have said I have been fortunate. I've said so in the public domain. So I don't see, I'm wondering as to, are we not living in St. Lucia? Are we not listening to what's happening in St. Lucia? This government's position on disabilities has been clear. Very clear. So that's what I can tell you is that the Honorable Jeremiah Norbert is very excited about his portfolio. And to answer your question, he'll be the minister dealing with all areas of disabilities. So portfolio reallocation will happen, which I will gazette at the appropriate time to give, including new responsibilities as far as disabilities are concerned. But we have no issue with that because our position has been very clear. So, I'll see you tomorrow in the Parliament.
Again, hardest question. The public discourse on Haiti took a turn, seemingly so, last week when a broadcaster, revered broadcaster, suggested
My
the mutilation there.
my father always taught me something. He said, never argue with men who can speak every day and you can't.
Was, okay.
I'll take that position. My position on Haiti has always been clear also. I've come here and I've said that our position on Haiti has been is misconstrued. Haiti was the first black republic. Haiti, the Haitians, when Haiti was liberated, a decree was passed that said any slave from any part of the world, once he set foot in Haiti, he was a free man. This is historic. It's historic. It's unfortunate Haiti is going through what it's going through now. But Haiti is part of history. Dessalines, Toussaint Louverture, Henri Christophe. Haiti was the first black republic in the world. You know what that means? That any slave who set foot in Haiti was a free man. So we have to be grateful to Haiti for causing our liberation. And it's our duty to support Haiti. Haiti is going through some serious times. What's happening is not straight. We've forgotten. There have been massacres in Europe. There have been massacres in Europe. There have been massacres. I mean, I'm not supporting it. I'm not saying it's right. But I'm saying, let's not pretend that Haiti is the first place in the world that has gone into such turmoil. Not the first place. I don't know if you recall, in Rwanda, there have been massacres in Europe. There have been massacres in Europe. Millions have been killed in Europe in massacres. It's not right. We don't support it. But let's not be too tough on Haiti. Haiti is going through terrible times. What's happening in Haiti is going to heaven for vengeance. But we cannot just dismiss Haiti. It's our duty from a historical perspective. Haiti, any slave who landed in Haiti was a free man. You know what that means? At the time of slavery, a country was bold enough to say, listen to me, once you get here, you are a free man. That's of historical significance. So we cannot just treat Haiti as if it's a place where we have to, of course, it's confusion, but to pretend that we can forget our history. And there's been a tendency in St. Lucia recently to pretend you forget your history, to pretend you're not what you are, to pretend because it's convenient, your history doesn't matter. It's an offense in St. Lucia now to use words like black. It's an offense, almost offensive to say that. Every day we hear about black Americans, Afrocentric, people who are Afrocentric. So if you say black, you racist. Oh, you racist, you're saying black, oh Lord, you racist. Why are we being so hypocritical? Why are we being so hypocritical in this country? Why are we doing that? Why are we forgetting our history? Why are we trying to have a view of history that only deals with our political persuasion? Why are we doing that? Let's face the facts. Haiti is going for a lot of problems, massive problems. But let's not pretend as if Haiti is a place that the only place in the world will have these issues. Of course, these issues are serious. Of course, we need to stop it. But you must look at the history and you can ask yourself, why is it like that in Haiti? And that is why I've always urged young people to read. I said to young people all my life, when I hear young people tell me that they went away, that you could leave St. Lucia if you couldn't get a tax clearance, it freaks me out. I mean, it's fascinating when young people tell you they never knew that you couldn't travel unless you went to the tax department. They give you a piece of paper, you pay $5 and say you can leave. Young people didn't know that. When you tell young people that make a call to learn to Barbados, you have to pay $3.65 per minute. They tell you what? I mean, these are things young people must know. When I studied abroad, to pick up the phone and call my parents, when you call, you say, hi daddy, how are you? Put it on. That's the reality. But we know, but conveniently, particularly when it's politically convenient for us, we pretend that we've forgotten all these things. We've really forgotten all these things. We pretend that we have the history all mixed up conveniently. So what we're hearing about Haiti is just a mixture of convenience. It was started by the leader of the opposition when he said that if you want to say you're from Haiti, it started there. So these things don't perturb me because what I know my history, I know where I came from, I know where I'm going, I know where I want to get. So these things don't really confuse me.
In light of Haiti's contribution to the region, like you mentioned, would you as a Prime Minister consider removing the visa for Haitians to come here? Would you
No.
allow refugees also to come here?
Every country must do what is good for their own interests. That is clear. St. Lucia is a small country. Right? You only have 248 square miles. We don't have the space to accept refugees. No, we don't. So I will not be a hypocrite and tell you, yes, St. Lucia will be able to accept Haitian refugees. We can't. We're a small country. Vast countries. The US had a policy where any Cuban who reached America was free. You know that? Are you aware of that? Wet foot, dry foot. You know that? Yeah, you know that, right? Wet foot, dry foot. It is called wet foot. I'm sure Mr. knows that. It's called wet foot. Mr. Andrew knows that. Wet foot, dry foot. Once you're Cuban, once you land in America, you're free. Wet foot, dry foot. Right? Now, St. Lucia is in no position to have any policy like that. I'm not going to be a hypocrite and tell you yes. We can't. We can express our solidarity. We can work with CARICOM, but we can't, we're not in a position to accept Haitian refugees. We're not in a position.
Prime Minister, is that currently on the table of discussion?
No,
with
it's not.
CARICOM?
It's not. But I'm just making it clear. We don't have the size. We don't have the size. Obviously, we have the social services. But we support any move to improve the situation in Haiti. But I'm not going to be a hypocrite. We can't accept refugees. We can't. Just have the size. We don't have the capability. We can't. And that is a fact. But I'm telling you, what happened in Haiti is very, very sad. Very, very sad.
What about the interventions? There's talk like foreign.
Yeah, well, you see, again,
Kenya was involved.
Kenya was involved again. You see, for us to just flippantly make a pronouncement about Haiti, it's also sad. Haiti is complex. The Haitian situation is a very complex situation. It's very complex. Haitians are extremely proud people. They guard their independence jealously. So it's very, very complex. And there's no easy solution. Because there are a lot of powers, a lot of things working out in Haiti. Haiti has about 40 political parties. You understand? It's not a very easy, yes, political parties. Then there's the problem with gangs. So Haiti is very, very complex. Very complex. A solution that is not easy, that can't be had easily. But Haiti cannot be abandoned. Haiti cannot be left to die. The world community must assist Haiti. That is the question.